Hey everybody, it's Todd with Sweet Tea Guitars. Thank you so much for clicking on my video and welcome to my life. So we're post great guitar build off. I figured it's time to get some real work done. You know, I'm trying to build a company here. I want to build guitars for a living. And if the great guitar build off did anything for me, is prove that to myself. That I figured if I can make it through those 5 months that I was given to build a guitar with a deadline and come out the other end of it, not only with my attitude and my passion in check, but with a completed instrument, which I did. And I could not be happier with how it turned out, considering it was my first build. So now, I think it's time to start concentrating on keeping it a little basic maybe, but starting to think about repetitive process. So I think what I'm going to do is build 2 guitars. I'm going to build a mahogany body, which is already off-label. Telecasters are not made from mahogany in general. They're normally made from ash or alder. But I'm going to make this first guitar out of mahogany. I've got this down to 1.5 inches thick because I'm going to glue on a flame maple top. And we'll do some stain and, you know, make this guitar look classic. On the other guitar, I'm going to start it about 2 weeks from now. So I'm not running into some of the processes I'll do at the same time. But I don't want to run into having to wait on either one of them. And I've sat and had to think about it. And I decided that a 2-week gap between the 2 build starts should get me pretty much where I want to be at any given time during the build. So what we're going to do right now, like I said, I've got this dimension down. These boards are 16 inches long, so they are barely long enough to make a tele body out of. They're 6 7/8 inches wide, so I got plenty of width. I've also got the neck woods dimensioned on the table saw and ran through the planer. But first, let's get this body blank glued up. So I've got 2 beam clamps. These are Wood River 24-inch, and even though they're light duty, I don't really need them to torque anything down. We're making guitars here. I'm not trying to build a battleship or anything. That's a beautiful joint. All right, so we're good. Let's get some glue put on this thing and get this body glued up. I'm liable to change the shape of this guitar slightly. The one thing I've never liked about a Telecaster are these 2 little sharp points right here. It's based on what kind of wood you're using. That is really fragile right there. So as far as this side, I'm definitely going to do some work on this side and possibly make that solid and not have that little hook right there. I know it adds a little bit of a glamorous touch to the Tele, but I would almost rather split the difference and bring the contour up slightly and not have that hook there. Now on this side, it's a little bit different. We want a nice snug neck pocket fit, and we need some wood right there to assure us that we're going to have that. But what I may do is start the curve up a little bit earlier and bring that slightly, maybe 1/8 of an inch further into the neck. We'll fool with that once we get this done. But we got plenty of room, especially width-wise. Length-wise, we're pushing our luck, but it'll be okay. We'll be fine. I said this already. I want to be able to do this free. Free, you know what I mean? Yeah, I want to build somewhat of a Tele, but I want to be free enough that I can change my mind whenever I want to, you know. I like doing that, you know. I will absolutely use a template on the neck because it's really hard if you don't use a template to make sure you get the proper taper. And, you know, it's just good guitar building practice to use a template for the neck. Now the body, other than the neck pocket and the pickup cavities, the perimeter shape of the body is whatever you want it to be. You know, there are certain rules you need to adhere to, like normally the neck meets the body at around the 16th fret, but you've got a little leeway back and forth based on what kind of wood you use. If it's strong enough and you're using really nice, hard, solid wood, you can go to the 17th, 17 and a half fret and still have the strength you need without worrying about pulling out the neck, you know, the neck pulling away from the body or whatever. There's things that are going to happen on every build. So those things stay the same. But perimeter shape, headstock design, color, wood choice, all those things are open to the creator's vision, you know? And I love that about guitar building. It's really killer. All right, let's get this glue spread. And I'll be quiet long enough to get this done. Even though the great guitar build-off's over with, I'm still feeling like, you know, I'm just going to keep on going. Because I didn't enter the great guitar build-off for any other reason than to drive myself to do this, you know. So I'm just going to keep on going. This is what I love doing, and I'm so thankful to the people that are responsible for inspiring me to get into this. And there, you know, I picked out just a few people in the very beginning. I got into actual building a year ago, but I got into wanting to build 2 years ago, and then I watched videos for a solid year, and I read everything I could find on guitar construction methods and all that stuff. So I don't have an overabundance of glue on here, and we'll continue our conversation momentarily. But I don't have an abundance of glue on here, but I do have enough to get myself a little squeeze out. Now, I'm going to tighten this a little on that side, then a little on this side. And before I go too tight on either side, and I can tell I've got a good joint already, let's get some of these quick clamps and put these on the ends to make sure we keep a nice even joint, and I won't tighten those down too far. All right, I've got nice squeeze, and get some of this glue off of here. We'll do that on this side as well. And I'm not really worried about leaving a little of this on there because I got so much sanding to do. And that's continuing to squeeze. So that tells me I got a nice good joint. I don't see any voids in it. I'm going to set that to the side. Back to what I was talking about, which I think what I was saying was that I have been so inspired by a certain few builders. I've got guys that I'm literally texting back and forth with on a daily basis at this point, bouncing ideas off of each other, you know, talking about what we want to do next. That right there is why I got involved in the Great Guitar Build-Off. You know, that became clear to me that I was not kidding myself for thinking that could happen, because it absolutely happened. For the traditional style, somewhat tele-bass guitar I'm building, I decided to build a 5-piece walnut and maple. So we're going to glue this neck blank up real quick. And I want to glue it up just like it lays. This is going to be the back of the neck. So I want these are not all surface, you know, these are not all planed down to the same size. This is oversized. I want to run this whole blank back through the planer and get it almost to the final dimensions. Leave myself some room to get rid of any kind of planer snipe that there may be. I'm going to use Gorilla Glue for this. So let's get us a bead of glue run down through here. And again, I don't need a ton. That should be plenty. Spread it out. I don't want to leave any voids. And I really like a laminated neck. I do. It just gives you so many options of things you can do. I think it's going to add some really cool character to this guitar. All right. Like I said, I got to run back through the planer anyway. That's why I left the maple shy. Clean this glue up so I don't gunk up my planer blades. So there's my neck blank, you guys, for the traditional telly style build. This is almost a full inch thick, so I've got plenty of room to take off and get this walnut leveled down with that maple. Body blank done, neck blank done. Let's take this thing out of clamp. So in a traditional Fender guitar, when you make a neck blank, and I'm talking about a flat headstock Fender style neck, when you make a neck blank, the general perceived rule is that the neck winds up being 1 inch thick after you attach the fretboard to it. So true 1 inches of wood, which means the neck blank would be 3/4 of an inch with a 1/4 inch fretboard. Well, I would rather make the neck at least at 3/4 of an inch thick and have my fretboard be more at the 5/16 thickness. I like a little bit of a thicker fretboard. What that causes you to have to do is you have to route your neck pocket a little bit deeper or your action winds up messed up. Now obviously you need to measure your bridge because they all have a varying adjustment range. But there are some widely regarded rules when it comes to, say, telly bridges. You know, the saddles will be a determined amount above the face of the bridge because most telly bridges are surface mount, but you have to compensate for the thickness of the plate for the bridge plus the saddle height. That will give you the determined height above the face of the body, and you can work out how deep your neck pocket needs to be. You can go ahead and route that neck pocket to 5/8, dry fit your neck, run the ruler across the top of the frets, and get the height that you are above the surface of the body. That will tell you how much further you need to take that neck pocket depth down to meet the top of those saddles and give you room to set your action. I just wanted to let you guys know there is a method to the madness when it comes to setting your neck pocket depth and knowing beforehand how deep your neck pocket needs to be, because you don't want to compromise the bottom of the neck pocket and wind up having it too thin, but you also don't want to compromise your action. The amount of setting. You want to be able to utilize the full travel of the saddles to get your action like you want it. A Telecaster is one of the easiest guitars to set up ever. That's why they're great for a first time build. Everything about a Tele is flat. The headstock's flat, the parallel neck, you've got all straight lines. Everything is parallel to each other. The fretboard's parallel to the top of the body. You can do anything to a Tele and have it wind up being an absolutely killer guitar. Teles are great playing guitars. And traditional tellies also, they don't sound like a Strat. You can make them sound like a Strat if you put the right pickups and everything in it. But a telly is a working musician's guitar. It absolutely is. A Telecaster is highly sought after. I mean, John 5 plays one, so the proof's in the pudding, really. I don't see any light through that whatsoever. That makes me really happy. So we're good and flat on this neck. I'm going to run this across the jointer, get this side perfectly flat since it's the back. Then I will run it through my planer and we'll get this taken down so the walnut gets to the point to where it's level with the top of the maple. Let's get that done. So that board is now flat. I would almost guarantee it because I spent a lot of time setting up this jointer. Oh, we are dead on it. I will leave this about a 30-second proud, and then I'll come back in and we'll run it across the jointer and flatten it out that way. But what running this across the jointer has done for me now is it will assure that my planer has a flat surface on the bottom to be able to ride this board through there and cut a parallel surface to the back of the neck. I'm going to go take care of that real quick. I'll be right back. You guys hang with me. So this is the neck blank for my new Telecaster build. I'm at about 19.5 millimeters thick, so I left myself a 0.5 millimeter oversize for sanding and glue up and shaping and all that kind of stuff. But I'm really happy with this. I've checked this with the straight edge. If you can see it right there, I got some flame happening in these two maple strips right here. I cut those off of the sides of this, and I don't know how well you guys are going to be able to tell what this has got going on, but I ordered 2 hunks of maple from C. Jacobs Woods. I've started to order a good bit of wood from those guys now. I say a good bit, not like pallets, but select pieces. Those guys, everything they've sent me exceeded my expectations, not only in the quality of the wood, but the shipping speed, the friendliness, the customer service that I've gotten. If you guys are not familiar with C. Jacobs Woods, get over there and buy you some wood from those guys. So let's run this across the jointer and then we'll get this neck blank glued up. Then we'll go back to our body blank on the first Tele build, and I just want to get this neck blank glued up so it's ready when I'm ready for it. Machinist Square, Amazon, $12 I think it was. These were pretty square already. I had already squared these up on my table saw, but I wanted to make sure I've got a nice clean surface for the glue up. So let's get our clamps ready and get this neck blank glued up. And again, I'm going to do just like I did the other neck blank. I'm not going to overdo it on glue, but I do want enough to get an adequate amount of squeeze. And then I want to work my way down the neck. And some guys do, they start at both ends. I'm not a fan of that. I like to squeeze the glue out that way. Alright guys, let's get this top glued up. So, I've been working on this for quite a while with the hand plane, and I've gotten what I am going to call an acceptable joint. Now, it's the first one I've ever done, so if it's not perfect, you guys will have to forgive me. I'll work on it and make sure that it looks good when I'm finished. I'm going to use Titebond 2 for this. And instead of using a brush on this one, I'm going to use my finger. This is going to want to slip and slide and do all its crazy stuff. You guys know the deal. Look at that maple. I'm going to put this weight right smack dab in the middle. Then I'm going to put another clamp flat across the top of here, like so. I'm going to do the same thing on these ends. We got our top glued up. I'm happy with this. I think the book match on this side turns out a little better, but this side's got more interesting flame. I'm going with the better book match. I've got my body blank like I wanted. It's nice and flat. I've checked it with a straight edge. I'm not going to do anything to the side that's going to show, but I am going to sand the excess glue and stuff off the back of it and get it ready to glue on to my body blank. I'm going to take a piece of 220 and we're just going to sand this real quick. Now I'm going to take this to the bandsaw and we'll lop off this side here that we don't need. I'm going to stay outside the line. Simple enough, yeah? Can you say back cavity covers out of this drop piece here? Yeah, that'll make some really nice book match cavity covers. That's basically what I'm going to do, and I'm going to have some side overhang here, but I'm not worried about that. I'm going to draw a center line just so I've got a reference on this body blank. So what's going to determine the center line is the glue joint, and now I've at least got somewhat of a line I can follow. I'm going to use Gorilla Glue for this because I want to get that bottle used up, really. I think we're going to need some more glue. I want glue down in all these little spaces. I'm going to drop our top into place. All right, that looks good. So for my other build, which I started off saying I thought was going to be a Telecaster kind of guitar as well. Here's my neck blank for that build. 4A flame maple, split in half with a strip of purple heart surrounded by 2 strips of walnut. This is beautiful. We're going to run this across the joiner, get this flat, and we'll start drawing out some shapes on our neck blanks and getting that taken care of. On this board, I'm at about 20.5 millimeters thick. I don't mind if I go a little bit shy of 3/4 because my fretboard's going to be a little thicker. And I think we're going to call that good right there. I'm thinking I'm going to change up the headstock on this particular design and use the Sweet Tea headstock. So let's mark out this nut. And I'm only going to mark this on one side and draw that reference. All right, there's our nut line. I've got plenty of room at the end of here to encompass my headstock design. Another 22 fret Sweet Tea neck. I think I'm going to be happy with this. All right, that looks pretty good. So let's draw us a center line. All right, I'm right on my nut line. I'm going to trace around this neck. And if you'll notice, I'm aiming the pencil away from the neck. That way it gets tighter up under that. That makes certain that I am right up on that line. I'm going to line this, my headstock shape up with my center line, like so. And I want to measure 15 millimeters away from my nut line is where my locking nut will end. I'm going to set this one to the side because this is not the guitar that we're working on right now. I just wanted to go ahead and get this neck blank glued up and ready probably next weekend. I'll start filming the body part of Guitar 2. I'm going to do some of the processes at the same time. If I'm going to turn Sweet Tea into a business, then I have to have the ability to produce more than one guitar. So let's get us a center line drawn up on here. All right, I'm going to draw off my center line. Again, you guys have seen this process before. That looks pretty dang good. Let's draw our center line. Now we've got a reference because I've got this template marked right here on the side. There's a line there. I've also got it marked on the end of the neck, so I've got a reference for where my center line's at. We'll mark off, I've got the side of the neck drawn where my nut's gonna be. So we'll pick a side. I'm gonna choose this side. I'll draw an arrow to let myself know that that is my reference. All right, so we've got a reference line for our nut. Now we can lay this puppy back down on here, line up our nut, get our center lines back where they need to be. All right, I'm going to hold this down and we're going to draw off our pattern. I'm going to switch pencils and use the 0.5 millimeter. Think at this point, I may drop this video, which would be neck and body prep. That's how I plan on doing my videos anyway. I would rather do that before we start getting into the routing, because if I start trying to incorporate routing into this same video, it's going to make it so much longer. And one of the things that I've promised myself I would do is shorten my videos down a little bit so you guys can absorb more information. I want to teach, and you guys know how long-winded I am. So I hope you guys stick with me. I really appreciate you guys watching. I hope you learned something from me. I know I've learned plenty from you guys. I really hope that we can continue on down this path, building our relationship with each other. You guys drop me a comment. Let me know what you think about this build, about my wood choices, about what you think I should do. Part of the reason why I wanted to do two guitars at the same time came from suggestions about certain things that could be done on a build from a couple other guys that were watching my videos. So I knew I couldn't incorporate all those things on the same build, so I said I might as well build two. Plus, this started off being two Telecasters. Now the second guitar, I don't think I'm going to build a Tele. I think I'll build a Sweet Tea original at this point. All right, you guys, this is Todd with Sweet Tea Guitars. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for a little while. I hope you enjoyed the video, and remember, until next time, love harder, sing louder, leave a mark on this world that you'd be proud for anyone to know about. Peace and love.